I had an encounter during this fuel situation around Ojo. We were going to see my other sister, and we stopped to buy fuel. And we were in the queue for almost an hour, and then in comes this Jeep that turns around and comes. So I move in front of the line to say, you can't come in from that end. And the guy looks at me, goes this way, goes around me and comes back into the line. Because, of course, I have to save my life. But seeing that he's a soldier, his colleague is there, both of them, I think one was a private, the other was a sergeant. So I looked up and I saw that they had someone that looked like a colonel or a brigadier general or somebody up there. So I walked up to him and said, sir, this is not fair. People have been in the queues. And you know what he tells me? That's the problem with you Nigerians. In that kind of situation, what do you expect? How do you expect me to feel?
Okay, let me say this. There is no institutional condemnation of this kind of attitude. I can authoritatively tell you that the Nigerian Armed Forces would deny any such act. Deny. And I'm saying, if you were able to record such an occurrence, and it was vivid enough, and you passed it to the army authorities in Lagos, the Public Relations Department, I can guarantee you that that will be dealt with. I'll give you a simple example to illustrate this. Some years back, a soldier took to the BRT lane and was arrested. Gerald Minima, who was GOC 81 Division at the time, tried this guy and dismissed him, after which he was handed back to the police for further necessary action, because once he was shorn of his military uniform, because the soldier is governed by a doctrine of compact. He's a soldier first of all, and is also subject to civil laws. So look, people just don't know that. Oh yes, there have been soldiers who have been high-handed, no doubt about that. But there are also soldiers who would go to fuel stations and ensure that there's orderliness, and ensure that fuel is sold in a manner that everyone will be safe. Nobody says that. And like my father used to say, when things go right, nobody says thank you. But the day something goes wrong, you know, that's just the truth. But that is not defending any soldier who, no. A policeman was trying to be unruly once. I said, my friend, if the police catches you, they will disown you.
Okay, I'm looking at statistics here from Global Firepower.
All right.
Talking about Nigeria being ranked 43 out of 133 countries considered for the annual Global Firepower Review.
Okay.
That means when it comes to the military, Nigeria is respected.
Okay.
So how can we ensure that this respect is not just abroad? We've said, you know, a little about some of the things that we can do. It's not just abroad, but we can also bring it home. Particularly for me, you know, I don't know, I was thinking about the policeman that died in Edo State. I don't know why it came to mind. Maybe because I was thinking about this topic, and I said, okay, the man dressed up and went to work, and he never returned.
That's right.
He had a family, you know, wife, children. How can we also incorporate these family members into the welfare issues? Yes, there may be one or two things that is being done for them, just so that they're encouraged. Because I don't know if I would want my son to join the army, for instance. I don't know yet. But how can we also bring the family in and ensure that they have that respect and they believe that their welfare is indeed taken care of?
Well, that question will go to the people who are in service, people who determine what is done to families and serving people and retired people. It is important that the family is catered for. It is important that you see them as integral to the performance of their spouses. If you do not take care of them, it affects the morale of even the husbands. talking about the firepower thing, if some organization or body has ranked us that high, what does that say to anybody? It says to you that in spite of all else, in spite of everything that has been said to the contrary, we are not as bad as the armed forces is not as bad as it's been portrayed. That's my take. And thank God that you got that piece, which I found some time ago, but it will not lie in my mouth to bring it out here. Thank you for bringing that forward.
You were going to say something about welfare.
Yes, and thank you. You see, in spite of all, there's still this sense of awe we have about the military. I mean, the discipline, the culture. We admire the military. However, unfortunately, perhaps some of this maybe we're losing it to over-politicization of the armed forces. I thought we had gone beyond that after the return to democracy in 1999. But of recent, as recent as 2016, something happened in the Nigerian army that I think needs to, I mean, it explains, there's no matter how much you give to someone, whether you give them money, you give them all the soft landing, there are certain cultures, certain understanding that if they have, they will be much more committed. About 38 officers of the Nigerian army were compulsorily retired in June 2016. Now, these people were said to, President Muhammad Buhari set up a panel, 2 panels of inquiry, one on the issue of procurement of arms and ammunition, and one on the issue of army involvement in electoral malpractices and all of it. Some people were found guilty. However, 38 officers who were dismissed were not among those who faced any of those panels. As a matter of fact, 18 of them were not even called to come and give testimony. They were never indicted, and yet the army violated its own rule. Because we've written, my organization has written to the president on this, but it's been silent. We've written to the National Human Rights Commission.
You think this is a part of welfare?
This is the highest part of welfare, because if I'm laying down my life for a country, for instance, one of the 38 officers have died. Imagine the man's son. The man's son will be thinking, was my father really a dishonorable person? So imagine a soldier. Some of these people were at the war front in the northeast when they heard over the news that they are from nowhere, their name has entered list of compulsorily retired officers. Some of them were outside of the country. They had never had anything to do with the activities of these panels.
In 10 seconds, what would you have to say about welfare? Because we have to go.
Can you come again?
In 10 seconds, what would you have to say about the welfare of the military?
Military welfare, the best way to look at it is not to sit here at home and say whether it's good or not. Can you compare our soldiers' welfare to international best practice standards? Where do we stand vis-a-vis what is average globally? Or if we can do globally, let's do Africa. 10 seconds.
Thank you very much, Captain. Mr. Kost.
Yeah.
No problem. In 5 seconds.
What should I
Welfare.
say? Welfare. Well, so much more can be done. So much more should be done. And people shouldn't be impervious. People are just simply impervious to the reality. The people are caught in a time warp and not considering any reality. So people should sit up and do what ought to be done.
Thank you very much. We would have to go. Nigerians are tweeting here. Some are saying they've had horrible experiences with the military, and some are saying we need to pursue peace. Olusegun Dada says soldiers are not respected because of the way they harass civilians. Maybe the armed forces authorities should look into that. I do know that they have some kind of training as regards civil-military relations. Thank you, gentlemen. Captain Aliyu Umar, retired military officer, joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you for joining us. Colonel Francis Okosun, a retired military officer, also here in our Lagos studio, and Suleiman Arigbabu, public affairs analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much.